To really get a handle on a world-changing event, sometimes the best way is to see it through the eyes of a single person. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this explainer. We're going to follow the story of Dr. Masakazu Fujii, a successful doctor whose perfectly normal morning was shattered by the dawn of the atomic age.
So picture this. It's August 6th, 1945. A beautiful, clear morning in Hiroshima. Dr. Fujii, he's 50 years old. He's successful. He owns this fantastic 30-room private hospital. He's just enjoying a quiet moment. I mean, this is a guy whose life is comfortable. He spends evenings sipping whiskey with his friends. His family's safe out in the country. His hospital, which was built right over the Kyo River, was his absolute pride and joy. So as he sits there reading the paper, he really doesn't have a care in the world.
And then, just like that, at exactly 8:15 in the morning, his entire world was ripped apart. Everything he'd built, everything he knew, just vanished in one single, silent flash.
Okay, let's get right into it. Those first few moments after the bomb went off were just absolute chaos. And for Dr. Fujii, the world didn't just feel like it was collapsing, it literally, physically toppled over. Now, what's so incredible here is Dr. Fujii's unique point of view. He was only about 1,500 yards from the center of the explosion. But, and this is key, he was facing away from it. So he never saw the fireball. For him, the very first sign that something was wrong was just this brilliant, totally silent, yellow flash that made him start to get up.
So, what was that flash? Well, it was the start of a whole new, terrifying age. A single bomb, a uranium bomb, had just gone off, and it released the same amount of energy as 20,000 tons of TNT. All at once. This created this massive pressure wave, a pulse of heat you can't even imagine, and a burst of invisible gamma rays that would have their own awful effects much later. That incredible pressure wave, moving faster than the speed of sound, slammed right into Dr. Fujii's hospital. As he was literally in the middle of standing up, the entire building, his home, his clinic, his whole life's work, was just lifted off its foundation and thrown into the river below. And Dr. Fujii's hospital, that was just one building. The scale of the destruction across the entire city is it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. The first reports, which turned out to be low, said that nearly 70,000 of the city's 90,000 buildings were just gone, and over 78,000 people were killed in an instant. And yet, somehow, in the middle of all that devastation, Dr. Fujii was alive. His hospital was now just a pile of junk in the river, and he was trapped inside the wreckage. The way he survived is just surreal. He was pinned completely upright by two huge beams, with his head miraculously just above the rising water. So after about 20 minutes, he somehow works himself free and drags himself up onto a nearby bridge. But what he saw from there, it was just this endless, horrifying procession of human suffering. A parade of misery that no one could have ever prepared for. He's still completely dazed, soaking wet, bleeding, and he runs into a friend on the bridge, another doctor. His first question to his friend just says it all. "What do you think it was?" Nobody had any idea. There was no warning, no sound of planes, just a flash. And then this. People's minds were just racing, trying to find any explanation that made sense. His friend suggested a Molotov flower basket, which is a kind of cluster bomb. Other rumors started flying around, maybe magnesium powder, or the planes had sprayed gasoline everywhere. The truth that a single bomb powered by nuclear fission did all this was an idea so new and so awful that it was literally unthinkable. As Dr. Fujii stood there on that bridge, he saw them, a silent, shuffling, endless line of injured people. And many of them had these really strange burns. The heat flash was so fast and so hot that it had burned patterns onto their skin, right through their clothes. Dark fabrics absorbed the heat and burned the skin underneath, while the lighter parts of their clothes reflected it, leaving the skin untouched. And where was this parade of misery trying to go? A lot of them were heading for the city's Red Cross hospital. But it was completely, hopelessly overwhelmed.
I mean, think about this number. More than 10,000 wounded people flooded into that one hospital. And guess how many uninjured doctors were there to treat them? One. A single doctor, Dr. Terafumi Sasaki, for 10,000 patients. But the bomb, it had another cruel trick up its sleeve. For the people who actually survived the blast and the fires, the nightmare was far from over. Weeks later, a new, mysterious sickness started popping up. A truly terrifying illness that felt like some kind of poison had been carried in on the wind. Now, doctors eventually figured out the stages of this new disease. Stage 1 was an immediate reaction to the gamma rays, nausea, headaches. But stage 2, that's where it got truly bizarre. It would start about 10 or 15 days later. A person's hair would just fall out. Then came a high fever, and their white blood cell count would just plummet, leaving their body with no defenses. And here's the scariest part. You could walk away from the blast thinking you were perfectly fine, only to die weeks later from its invisible poison.
And as if the bomb wasn't enough, it was like nature itself was piling on. Dr. Fujii had taken shelter at a friend's house. But in early September, a huge typhoon tore through the area. The river flooded, and the house, the second home he'd had in less than a month, was washed completely away.
You see, the strange sickness and all these delayed effects, they created this new kind of psychological terror. A rumor started to spread that the bomb had left a poison in the ground that would make Hiroshima unlivable for 7 years. And for a lot of the survivors, that idea was even more infuriating than the bombing itself. It wasn't until Japanese scientists actually went into the city with instruments and declared it safe that that particular fear started to go away. So what happened to Dr. Fujii in the end? Well, for him, and really for every survivor, August 6th wasn't just a terrible day. It was a sharp line that split their lives in two. There was the before, and then there was the after.
A full year after the bombing, that prosperous, happy-go-lucky doctor was basically gone. He lost his entire life's work, that modern hospital he'd spent years building. And with the city's economy just destroyed, he had zero real hope of ever rebuilding it. The life that he knew was simply over. In a conversation with another survivor, Dr. Fujii summed up his feelings. He said it in German, but the phrase he used translates to, "There's nothing to be done about it." It wasn't about hate or revenge. It was this deep, tired, fatalistic acceptance. It's a sentiment that's very common in Japanese culture. This idea that some things just can't be helped. You just have to accept them. And really, this is why a single story is so powerful. By following Dr. Fujii from his peaceful morning into the wreckage, onto that bridge of misery, and all the way to his final, quiet resignation, we get to move past the numbers and statistics. We start to understand something incomprehensible, but on a human level. Which leaves us with one last thing to think about. How can one person's story totally redefine how we understand a catastrophe of history?